Hello, and welcome. I am Natalie, and this is Tonka Talk, where we talk about the ways people create community and connection all around the area. And today, my guest is Keegan.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Now, Keegan, you have a labor of love,
Yes, both a labor and a love.
like nobody's labor of love.
Yeah.
Let's make sure we can hear you there. I feel like I'm having a little bit of, there.
Here I am. Okay.
Somehow that got
better.
turned down.
Here we are.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, yeah, but definitely both a labor and a love.
Yes. Keegan has a Facebook page, a group, a
Yes.
group called the Lake Minnetonka Fan Club. And there's about 18,000 or so members in it. So if you look for it on Facebook,
Yeah.
under the Lake Minnetonka Fan Club, you'll find it. And it is full of all things Lake Minnetonka. But the curious thing, of course, because I want to hear all about the tea.
Love it.
There's anytime you start something, I feel in a community, especially on social media, and you have a group, you can have it grows. Your page has like 18,000 followers on it right now, 18,000 members. And you share just everything happening around the lake. And it's such a growing community because it's not just made up of people who live around the Lake Minnetonka area, but people who come to visit, who want to shop and have fun. What made you decide that, you know what, I'm going to take this on? Because it involves a level of putting yourself out there.
It does. There was a former Lake Minnetonka fan club page, so I won't take credit for the inception. And I loved it because I would go to it all the time and I would look for different events that were going on, where there was going to be fireworks that weekend. If I saw something happening on the lake, and of course I wanted to know the tea, I would go and see if anyone had posted about it. And one day I noticed it was gone. I went to look up something, and I was like, so bummed that all of a sudden this page that my friends and I all kind of relied on in a way wasn't there anymore. And so we were like, well, that sucks. And so we created a new one because we didn't see another one out there, and really loved the community and kind of the benefit that page provided. And we just wanted to recreate that, to bring that back. So of course we had to start from scratch, which was always fun.
Yeah. How long has it been?
It's been, a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, and we've got 18,000 fans.
Yeah.
So, growing slow and steady, created 2 years ago. So
2 years ago. Nice.
Yeah.
That is cool.
Yeah.
How do you deal with the drama?
Oh,
because
never.
I'm sure it doesn't happen.
No, never.
And I'm sure none of you out there ever get involved in any kind of flame wars or anything. We all just keep scrolling because we were given 2 thumbs to do that. I'm sure nobody stops and says something nasty.
Yeah.
How? Because I know that in these groups and in other pages, they really need to be monitored.
Yeah.
And as someone who is a fan of this page and a member, sometimes you see things and I'm like, oh my gosh, I just cannot believe that. How do you manage the drama?
First and foremost, we have a set of rules, which you can read on the page. Things like, no promotions or spam, be kind and courteous, pretty basic but general rules that, we ask everyone to abide by. And then a lot of it is just trying to keep the peace. We created this for a sense of community, not to get into politics, not to argue about, specific things. It's really, first and foremost for me, it's about kindness. And if you aren't being kind, then it doesn't belong here. Of course, it has to be relevant to the lake community and the things that people who live and or come visit us, would care about. But outside of that, it's all about kindness. The last thing we need is another place online to spew more hate and disrespect. So that's really what I focus on. And to your point, it's it takes a lot, and it's a lot of time and energy to filter through that stuff. Luckily Facebook has some tools to help me do that, but it's a labor of love, as you said. And the other thing I would say, and kind of a shout out to the fans, if you see something that violates one of the rules or is unkind or disrespectful, report it, because then that makes it way easier for me to find it.
So
Know it's
see
there.
something, say something. It's a good rule to live
Yes,
by.
it is. It is not just at the airport.
Yeah. What about let's if again we're talking about the Lake Minnetonka fan club page, which you need to find and you need to be a member if you're interested in anything going on around Lake Minnetonka. What about the spam?
Yeah,
So when managing one of these groups, are there really that many legitimate duck cleaners?
it is insane in the last few years how much the spam has increased. It's
Mhm.
yes, I mean 99% of those duct cleaners are fake. Now it's been really fun. There's been some adult content that's getting posted.
Oh, really? I
Yeah,
missed
yeah.
that.
So if you see that, report that certainly. And luckily, like I said, Facebook has improved a lot of their tools to help catch a lot of it, but
Mhm.
some of it still slips through the cracks, and you constantly have, those tools only work. Um, they work as well as you know, create keywords for them to pull through to, automatically delete, or
Yeah.
it's not just to turn one button on and all of a sudden it magically filters all the spam. You also have to create the criteria of what are the keywords that the spam bots are using, or what sort of criteria based on that user would be a red flag. So you really have to, and you can't just set it and forget it, unfortunately, because these bots get savvier and then, they work around it. So then you have to go change all of that stuff and update it and do all that fun stuff too. So,
So you're over here just like wanting to create this great community, a place where people can come together, and you're like battling bots
yeah,
and
who knew?
bots and pornography.
Yeah, who knew? Not what I originally thought was happening when I signed up.
Yeah.
But here we
But
are.
here we are.
Yeah,
Exactly.
here we are. Mm-hmm.
Tell me about what are some of the stranger things you've seen on that page?
Oh boy. Aside from, the spam and the bots, there really honestly hasn't been too many strange things.
Mhm. My favorite thing that I've seen on this page
Yeah.
sometimes are like people finding each other
That's yeah, and
Yeah.
that's what I was gonna say. I wouldn't
in
necessarily
a good way. In a
yeah,
good way.
yeah. I wouldn't necessarily call it strange,
Yeah.
more so surprising.
Yeah.
The cool thing about someone reposting a photo from the Lake Minnetonka Historical Society, and then
Mhm.
someone comments and they're like, "Hey Brad, I haven't seen you in 5 years,
Yeah.
whatever." And just that connection has been really cool. Also just some of the help. I mean, at times it does get overwhelming, but if there's like a lost pet or things like
Oh,
that,
yeah.
where the community just like rallies and provides as much information as they know when they can, and helps people in all of those ways too. So that's been really cool to see, is just truly how people show up for each other, and then the connections that are made just by coming together and enjoying our love for this area.
Yeah. I love too that because around here, of course, being in Minnesota, it gets cold. There's something going on all the time,
Yes.
all
Yes.
year round. So there's no shortage of content to be able to share on this of what's happening in and around Lake Minnetonka.
Exactly. And originally you think, oh, just during boating season,
Yeah.
right? But no, there's so much going
Mm-mm.
on. I mean, this year has been tricky, as we all know, with the lack of snow and ice and all of that. So unfortunately, some of those amazing events are getting canceled or delayed. But even just to inform the community of details like that,
Yeah.
if you bought tickets to this thing, or you're used to going every winter, when this thing happens, even to just share that information that it
Yeah.
is postponed or canceled, even though it's, a bummer, to just have another place to find that, I think is really valuable. At least it is for me. It is for,
Mhm.
the people who tell me they're members. So
Oh, definitely. There's so
yeah,
much valuable info. It's such a great spot. I mean, of course, after Tonka Talk.
of course.
I share a ton on the page.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I learn about a lot of what's happening in the area from the page
Yeah.
that I then share on Tonka Talk.
Yeah.
So you make my job a lot easier.
Oh, well, perfect.
It's
No,
the
and
first place I go.
yeah, and the great part about, this page and things like Tonka Talk
Yeah.
is it's not specific to one thing. If you want to know what's going on at, Lord Fletcher's, sure, you can follow their page, but you're only going to get the things that are going on there.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what it's for. But if you follow a page, like one of ours that's a little more broad, you can get the things that are going on at Lord Fletcher's. You can get the things that are going on at Maynard's. You can get the things from Spring Park to Excelsior, all over. It's one catch-all instead of having to really navigate to all those different places to like get specific details. So that's a nice, benefit as well.
What would you say for other people who live in different communities that maybe want to create that same sense of community and be a hub for what's happening in the area where people can share in a group on Facebook? What are some of the things that you think people might want to think about before they do it?
The time commitment.
Did that surprise you?
It did. It did. I, to be honest, kind of just created it being like, dang it, I want this thing back, and created it thinking, honestly, without like a ton of strategy behind it. I don't make money off of this page. It's strictly me doing it because I valued that page and I value the lake in this community so much that's where it came from, and that's where it still is today. So, but it's surprising, the time commitment really is pretty heavy at times. And then there are other times where it's not. So I think that's a big thing. The other thing I always say is the page is only as good as its members, because I'm not populating it. In the beginning, I had to find a lot of the information and, really get it going and make sure I was responsible, for resharing or finding this information. But now it's amazing because other people will do it. And that's the best part, right? It's not just me. It's not just someone or, 18,000 people only hearing what I think is interesting or what I have to say or think is cool. It's what everyone shares, and that's the best part. And so I always encourage everyone, please, if you come across something when you're scrolling that you think anyone in this community living or visiting, would care about, post it. If you take a really cool photo, like there's incredible photographers that post their photos, but even if it's just your phone photo and it's such a cool moment, or if something is happening, even like little things that you don't necessarily think are helpful, but like when there was a car accident on Highway 7 yesterday, to know there's a traffic jam in that moment, or just small things like that, or things that you found, or I've seen people post like lost keys at a park in Excelsior, things like that too, that you wouldn't maybe necessarily think, oh, I'm going to go post this, but you'd be surprised at how much people really value it.
It's like the modern day public notice board.
Yeah.
When you used to go to the coffee shop. In fact, I think some places still have them. Remember the public notice board?
Yeah. Pull off a little,
exactly.
tag.
Pull off a tag if you're looking for a roommate.
Yeah.
You lost your cat.
Yeah. And there's certainly things out there too, like Nextdoor or, other things that exist. But
when you want to know about the coyotes in the neighborhood, then you can go to Nextdoor.
Yes. Except for the time, he's going to kill me, but we have a 10-pound dog and we live on West Arm. And last winter, was it last winter or the winter before? Last winter.
Yeah.
You know where I'm going at this?
Yeah.
And our 10-pound dog was walking. We were outside, or we were on the deck of our home. And our 10-pound dog was kind of wandering around on the ice and on the lake. Out of nowhere, a coyote came. And my husband had to sprint down in his socks through the snow, screaming at this coyote.
Which was all caught on video.
Which was all caught on camera. And I sure posted it on the page.
You got to reshare that.
Yes,
That's the anniversary of when Paul saved the dog.
Yes, he saved Olive. Yes, I will resurrect. But even so, my neighbor who, we have more coyotes this year. My neighbor just sent me the video and I asked if I could post, and I did, because I want people to know, watch your pets, watch all of those different things. So, it's really a plethora of everything, and it's important information, but also just fun.
Yeah. Do you think that there's a certain number of people that it reaches where it would become unmanageable, or do you think that there's just tons of growth that can still be had with it? Because you have 18,000 fans now, and that's just going to grow, and it's continuing to grow.
Yeah. I don't know if there's necessarily kind of a threshold. I think as many people that are interested in this area. The other cool thing is we'll have fans that are like, I used to live on the lake
Yeah.
20 years ago and I love following this page because I can still like feel as though I am there vicariously through everyone who's posting pictures and all of that stuff. So it's a total mix of people who, not just people that live out here, but people who love to come out here, people who, just want to stay up to date for whatever reason. Like, my mom doesn't live anywhere in this area but follows it because she also wants to know like what's going on in my backyard and that kind of fun stuff too. So even if you're just generally interested in this area in any way, there's still something for you.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. I know it is such a great kind of catch-all and, like we said, public notice board. And then we're talking about the Lake Minnetonka fan club page on Facebook. And this whole idea of creating these community pages, if you live in a different area and you want to create something like this where you can really bring a sense of community to an area and share things like the historical things about it. Like you said, so many people share these great historic photos of Lake Minnetonka when there used to be all the hotels on the lake and the steamboats and all of that. And people who move away, but I was born and raised in Hawaii.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things I like to do. I belong to a couple of groups like that about Hawaii because I like to go back and visit and see some of the older things and feel somewhat still connected to maybe what's currently going on in the places that I used to live. And you have a lot of people who they don't live in the area anymore, but they're following that.
Yeah.
It's also, do you see it as it's such a platform for showcasing the talent that's in the community, from photographers to people who even just make different things, artists who paint. I see a lot of that's being shared. Do you like sharing that type of content?
I do. And it's a fine line. One of the rules that I had mentioned is like no promotions and spam, and it's never black and white. In some way, events that are sponsored or that take place at a certain area, you could argue is a promotion or spam, but I really do my best to keep the content to things that I think generally people are interested in without being too overly promotional, where then it just becomes a page of what the dinner special is at every restaurant out here, what the sale is for every, local shop or whatever. Because then the value is lost, right? So it's a tough balance and it's never going to be perfect. And I know some people get frustrated and say, well, how come this person got to post this? And, this didn't fit. And there's going to be right places and right times for certain things. But I really just try to focus on, as a community, where's the benefit, right? So of course, someone can come be a patron at your restaurant or your brewery or whatever it is, or your store. But is there an event? Is there a special event? Is it celebrating something? Is it welcoming? Is it something unique and different than what you normally do that would pique interest? Or really, what is it outside of just, yes, you have XYZ goods or service? But to your point as well, what kind of surprised me is there's all this talent of photographers and, painters and just people that create and make stuff, and also just talent from a business perspective. We have some really cool business owners in this area that are doing really awesome things and creating really fun events. And showcasing some of that, I think, is awesome because, you drive by these places and you see the parking lots jammed because they create their own community as well. And they do such a good job at it. So
yeah, they do.
Yeah.
It's just such a great way to strengthen these connections. I often like seeing too how people will chime in about something, even if it's just the weather.
Yeah.
Or one of my favorite topics, it's people putting their boats in the water, which if you're watching this not from the area, it's a spectator sport.
It is.
It is one that people just love to do and comment on. And that's always one of my favorites, when people get going about the different boat launches and what's happening and what they see, but also sharing educational things as well, reminding people about the rules of the lake and things that people might not have known about the area, or places to go swim or hit up a beach.
Yeah, there's tons of people who will also post, hey, I'm looking for a recommendation for this restaurant. I'm taking my parents, or hey, I'm wondering if anyone, has X that I could borrow for this certain thing. Like it's very surprising at some of that stuff that you're like, oh, this makes total sense. And again, there are people that show up for each other and let people borrow things or make recommendations and give, their input. So it's really also just a good place to find recommendations and have people weigh in on certain things in the area too.
Yeah, local people in the area. That's the cool
Yeah,
thing about
yeah,
it. If you're coming to visit the Lake Minnetonka area, you can go ahead and check out the page and see ahead of time what's
yeah,
going on, what from a local perspective. That's what
yeah.
I like about it. You can learn about the area through the eyes of people who live here or at least spend a good amount of time here.
Yeah. What's the island that I can go park my boat at that isn't Big Island? This is the only island you know of when you're not from out here, right?
Yeah.
Like when you don't spend a lot of time on Lake Minnetonka, the only thing you ever hear about is Big Island and how crazy it is. Where else can I go? Where is more of a family place to go? What restaurant makes sense if I have kids, if I don't have kids, if I want a date night, if I, all of those different things that, to your point, the local community just really has a great pulse on, and it's things maybe are surprised by.
Yeah. I completely agree. I love what you're doing. I love the page. I love
Thank you.
just kind of going through and seeing what everybody's up to.
Yeah,
It
never a
usually,
dull moment.
no, there's
No,
not,
no.
because sometimes there's drama. And I'm totally here for that too. But you do a good job of bringing that balance of not letting people get too crazy, not
Right.
letting it get too Lord of the Flies.
Right. I don't want to be so heavy-handed that it also feels like everyone's being edited, right? That's
Yeah.
not a community either. So again, it's never going to be perfectly black and white, but I think there are some basic tenets as humans we should all abide by, and I just do my best to do that. And it's gonna, sometimes people will disagree and sometimes they'll agree, and most of the time not everyone's gonna agree. So
Yeah.
it just kind of is what it is, and I just make as good of a call as I can.
Yep. I love it. I'm
Yeah.
so glad that you do it. Again, it's the Lake Minnetonka fan club page, which you can find on Facebook. And you can
Yes.
follow the page, be a member of the page, and find out everything that's going on. Because again, little secret on Tonka Talk, we share all the ways people create community and connection, news of things happening in the area. I get a lot of info from the page, but I also share too.
Yes,
I'm a
you do.
contributor.
Yes. The other thing I would say, last plug, is if you're already a member, go to the invite button at the top of the page and go invite your other friends. You would be shocked at how many people who live out here, who are interested in the area out here, who visit out here, still aren't members. I mean, 18,000 people is a lot of people, but in the grand scheme of how many people live out here every day, and how many people visit, it's not. So, invite your friends, encourage them to join as well. And enjoy it. Let me know what you guys think.
Yeah. So if you're watching this on Facebook, go check out the Lake Minnetonka fan club page. It's got a sunset photo-ish on it right now.
It does. It does.
Right?
And it says the Lake Minnetonka fan club on the photo to make it
So
even easier.
Exactly. So you know where you'll find it. So thank you so
Yes.
much for Keegan for coming in and sharing all about that.
Yes. Thanks for having me.
Yes, go check it out and make sure also that you follow Tonka Talk on social media because we share a bunch of cool stuff that I steal off of his page. All right. Thank you, everybody. I will talk to you later.
See ya.